Hi, I'm Richard, the founder of 10 Adventures, and this is the 10 Adventures podcast. Each week we talk to real people about real adventures as they explore this incredible planet we all live on. Today I'm joined by Karen and we're learning about Bulgaria, an up-and-coming adventure destination that combines incredible outdoor adventures with a really unique cultural experience. Keep listening and learn about what makes Bulgaria so incredible. Hi Karen, how are things in Victoria?
Pretty good. It's a sunny day here.
That's nice. I know you're excited today because we're going to be talking about cycling in Bulgaria. Am I right?
Oh, yeah. Actually, I'm really interested because I found this blog and it was from people that had cycle toured, I think, most of Europe. And they said that Bulgaria was their favorite destination for cycle touring. And I really don't know a lot about Bulgaria, so I'm excited to learn more.
So am I, and we're not going to only talk about cycle touring. We're going to talk about adventure travel in general in Bulgaria, and we're lucky today. We have Stoyan Shirov, a mountain guide and founder of Adventure Trails, a Bulgarian adventure travel company here to share his passion about going on an adventure in Bulgaria. Hi, Stoyan.
Hi, Richard. Hi, Karen. It's lovely to meet you. And yes, I am Stoyan. And I will give you more interesting information about Bulgaria, as you said, as an adventure destination.
Bulgaria is becoming more and more popular for adventure travel. Can you let us know a little bit about what the highlights are for people that choose to go on an adventure in Bulgaria?
Well, Richard, I think it really is a combination of reasons. I would say a combination of highlights. It's a mixture between, first of all, a destination being not well known. So people feel like discovering a new place, entirely new place, when they come here. But at the same time, it's still a European destination, so people still feel quite safe and quite sure in their travel here. Plus, Bulgaria, obviously, the main reason has fantastic nature, the mountains, the sea coast. It is basically a wonderful place for all kinds of activities.
So for adventure travelers, what types of activities are popular to do in Bulgaria?
Well, the ones which are very popular and have been offered to visitors for many years now are mountaineering, all sorts of mountaineering. It can be a summer activity, it can be winter, skiing or snowshoeing. It's a great place for mountain biking and also for road cycling. It's good destination for both people which are looking for a challenge and people which are looking just for a mixture of leisure and adventure. And on top of everything, Bulgaria is rated one of the best places in Europe if you want to see cultural, historical heritage. So the mixture of all of that makes it just fantastic.
You know, you mentioned earlier it has mountains, it has beaches. Can you talk a little bit about the different mountain areas in Bulgaria so people can kind of get an idea of some of the places they might want to go?
Yes, Bulgaria mainly has its highest mountains concentrated in the western part of the country, while in the eastern part is the sea, the Black Sea. So the highest range in Bulgaria, in the southwest, is called Rila and Pirin Mountains. That's R-I-L-A, and Pirin also P-I-R-I-N. This is a range which reaches up to just under 3,000 meters. They are very alpine. They look like proper mountains. They are actually proper mountains. And they are a wonderful place for people that are really keen in mountaineering, both in summer and in winter. At the same time, these mountains are relatively safe. They are not glaciated, so there are no dangerous crevasses. There is no need for roping up, things like that. It's just a perfect place for the mountaineer. We have lower ranges in the central and more eastern part of the country, such as the Balkan Mountains, a very famous chain, which is 700 kilometers long, and it actually gives the name to the peninsula. Just, again, a wonderful place, slightly lower, but also offers fantastic views, hikes, and opportunity for mountain biking. In the south, we have the Rhodope Mountains. This is Rhodopi. This is a kind of like a vast labyrinth of very forested ridges, which are divided by many valleys and are populated with little tiny villages. The Rhodope Mountains are just one of the most fantastic places for both hiking, biking, cycling, because it's a wonderful mixture between the mountain, the fresh air, the forest, and the historical heritage of the local people and their traditions, and the cuisine, if you must.
I'm interested in the hiking and trekking in the mountains. Are there certain areas that are the most popular?
Well, yes, it depends what the client is looking for, what you're looking for. If you are looking for something more challenging, then that's when you go to the highest ridges. That's where you get the very pointy summits and the very narrow ridges. That's where it's more challenging. So that's, as I told you, Rila and Pirin Mountains. If you are looking, though, for more lower ground, forested, and more gentle, but also incredibly beautiful areas, that's when you go to the Rhodopi Mountains. That's when you go to the Balkan Mountains. If you want something which is, for example, there is no other place in Europe where you can see such vegetation and jungle-like place. We have this forest in the southwest of the country, Stranja. That's complicated to spell. This is NJA. This is a unique place because of, as I said, because of the flora, the type of flora which can be seen only there and in Georgia. For some reason, it's called a pontic vegetation. It's a very strangely looking forest. And again, this is all mixed with the traditions and customs of local people, which are really, really not known to the public across the world. And again, a wonderful place for both cycling and hiking.
The Rila and Pirin Mountains sound incredible. For people that want to do, a trek, is it like the Alps where there are high mountain huts, or do people typically stay in villages?
Both things can be done. We do have a very good, well-developed network of Alpine Huts, if we can call them, which, yes, some of them are regularly around 2,000, 2,500 meters. Some people prefer to stay there. Others prefer to stay in the villages because the huts are relatively basic. You get a hot meal there, and you get a clean sheets and blanket, and obviously a glass of wine, but that's about it. Most places have obviously hot shower, but you can't be promised that. So many people prefer to stay in small family-owned hotels in the villages or towns which are around the mountains, and every morning take a short vehicle trip to the higher part of the mountain, and that's where they start their hike.
And are there trekking routes like there are in the Alps, where you go, on a defined path from village to village through the mountains, or do they tend to be day hikes?
Yes, there are marked paths. Just like in the Alps, they are marked with different colors, although in the Alps, the different colors actually mean different difficulty. That's not the case in Bulgaria. They're just different colors. Basically, some of the hikes are designed to be like a week or even a 2-week hike, but the network of huts is designed in a way that there's always a hut a day hike away.
So that sounds perfect then. If you're doing a point-to-point trek, then there's always some place to stay close by. How about with the mountain biking? Because you talked about mountain biking in the mountains as well.
Well, the same can be said about the mountain biking. There are certain routes, both in Rila and Pirin and in other ranges, which are marked especially for the mountain bikers. As for their accommodation, we can say the same thing. They can stay at the high mountain huts or in small hotels in the villages, which are in the valleys.
When you talked about the Rila and the Pirin Mountains, you talked about them being very high peaks and very good for mountaineering, but is that also a good place for your average hiker or trekker or mountain biker, or are they really more for the more experienced ones?
Oh, surely you can do anything in the Rila and Pirin Mountains, from a very, more challenging hikes, which involves, as I said, very steep summits and very narrow ridges. And you can make your hike like last 7 to 9 hours. But you can also go to Rila and Pirin and have a shorter, not so challenging hike without taking away the fantastic views and just the beauty of the hike. So there's something for everyone.
That sounds perfect. Now I understand that one of the Eurovelo bike routes goes through one of those ranges of mountains. I'm not sure which one, because that's what I was reading when I was talking about the blog I was reading.
Well, there's actually two of them. There is one route which is part of the European Corridor E4. It's being hiked by many people or cycled across Europe. I think it starts from the Scandinavian countries and it follows the Tatra and Carpathian Mountains through Slovakia and Romania, and then it enters Bulgaria. And it basically goes pretty much entirely through Rila and Pirin ranges. This is a challenging one. This is one which is more suitable for hikers or for really prepared mountain bikers. As for the other is part of the European Corridor E8, and it goes only through the Rila Mountains and then through the Rhodope Mountains, the one I told you about, which are a labyrinth, forested labyrinth. That one is that's just classic mountain biking. You just have to have some experience. You don't have to be very experienced in that, and it's great. Yeah.
And you had mentioned that road cycling in Bulgaria is also very popular, and there's lots of options.
Yes, well, recently Bulgaria is getting a lot of interest from many European clients, especially Northern European. The Scandinavians and the Dutch, they love that kind of activity and they like to discover new destinations. So they found out that Bulgaria is just a great place for that. We have some areas of the country always around the mountains with some roads in very good condition, but at the same time very, very rarely visited by any vehicles, which make fantastic place for road cycling with a little bit of hills going up and going down. There has to be a sense of exercise after all. And the views are fantastic. We design here trips which are between 40 and 50 kilometers of cycling per day, always staying in some of these nice family-run hotels in the evenings.
Stoyan, we talked a little bit about mountain biking. I just wanted to go back to there because I know that's something that you guys have a lot of expertise in. Can you maybe just share, where the best place is to in Bulgaria to go on, a mountain biking trip, and then what somebody could expect each day? Is it a linear route where they go from village to village and sleep in a different place each night, or do they tend to stay in one place and just do a bunch of trails around that village?
Well, I would say, Richard, that the best place for mountain biking in Bulgaria is those Rhodope Mountains I told you about. This vast labyrinth, which is about 300 kilometers long from east to west and about 150 kilometers from south to north. This mountain range which is very, very old ground. It's formed many, many millions ago. And it's 85% in Bulgaria and 15% in Greece. This area is just almost like it was designed by nature for mountain biking. It has this network of villages and towns, and it has also a network of huts. So basically, a keen mountain biker can design anything he wants there, or it can be designed for him. Any kind of route. It can be a linear one. It can be a round trip. It can be, because of the size of this mountain, it can be from a weekend to a 2-week trip. And it can be with stays in huts or in guest houses in villages.
That sounds great. Now, I'm getting curious about the food and the culture in Bulgaria after talking about all of this. So if you were staying in a hut or a guest house, what kind of meals would you be having?
Bulgarian cuisine is actually very, very similar or quite similar to the Turkish. There's a good reason for that. We are neighbors with Turkey, and we've kind of been under their, let's say, dominance for 4.5 centuries, back then when it was Ottoman Empire. So we have inherited, just like most of our neighbors, a lot of the Turkish cuisine. In result, meals usually consist in a massive variety of vegetables. We have a lot of usually pork or lamb dishes. We don't have a lot of seafood, and we don't eat a lot of chicken. But usually, yes, big variety of vegetables. We use a lot of yogurt, which is our product. If you don't know that, now you know. Bulgarians have invented the yogurt. Yes. And so it's very delicious, and it has plenty of options for vegetarians, for vegan people. It's a very diverse kitchen.
Sounds delicious.
I wanted to just go back to exploring Bulgaria in the winter, because this is something you mentioned when we first met, Stoyan. And I, being here in Western Canada, I wasn't aware that it was such a hotbed for ski touring and snowshoeing and other kind of adventure winter activities. Can you, just share a little bit about those types of activities?
Sure. Bulgaria, because of these high mountains that we have here, those Rila and Pirin ranges, especially because of them, we are known as a ski destination, a good ski destination. We have 3 main resorts, which are visited by tens of thousands of people every year, because the quality of the snow and of the slopes is very good, and the price is also very good. But this is the mass tourism, and I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about the real adventure tourism. Those mountains, they are in winter. They look like if you would be looking at the Alps or the Caucasus Mountains. They look just as challenging. They look just as pristine. Only they don't have the crevasses because they are not glaciated, so they are not that dangerous. In result, they are a great place for what we call ski touring and also for snowshoeing. Of course, this has to be done in Bulgaria with an experienced mountain guide because of the, it's winter mountain after all. It can be dangerous. So, but don't worry, there's plenty of very, very experienced guides in Bulgaria. We get every winter up to 2.5-3 meters of snow in the mountains. So temperatures are, I guess, like in Canada, they go to -10, -15 in the mountains. So it's a wonderful place for winter outdoor activities.
And can you do snowshoeing or ski touring trips where you connect mountain hut to mountain hut? Are they open in winter, or are they only open in summer?
Mountain huts are open in winter as well. At least 90% of them are open in winter. However, not too many people prefer that option, going from hut to hut. The reason for that is that taking a shower during the winter is going to be a tough thing in the huts. So most people, when they go there to the mountains for winter activities, they prefer staying at the village down there in the valley in the guest house.
That sounds reasonable. Now, for those of us that don't speak Bulgarian, but we were really interested after this in going to Bulgaria, is language going to be an issue, do you think?
No, not really. Bulgarians, first of all, if we're talking about the large cities or the small towns around the mountains, this is not an issue. Most of the Bulgarians there speak, good or relatively good English. You definitely, at the end of the day, you get directions. You will know. They will tell you where the hotel is. Plus, Bulgarian is a Slavic language. It's from the group of the Slavic languages. It's quite similar to Serbo-Croatian, to Russian, to Ukrainian, to Polish as well, to Czech. But ours is one of the most difficult in terms of, how to pronounce it. So in result, because our words are very difficult, we are kind of good at languages, Bulgarians. Not very good at maths, but good at languages, at learning new languages. So most Bulgarians, even if they have very, very basic knowledge about English, they will do their best and try to explain. The only place that people might get stuck language-wise is small remote villages, let's say in the Rhodope Mountains. That's where mostly elderly people live. That's where literally time has stopped. I know villages in Bulgaria where maybe they discovered TV like 15 years ago. So that's where people don't really speak English, but you don't really get yourself in that situation where you have to rely on these people.
Stoyan, you must have had many, first-time travelers to Bulgaria. At the end of their trip, what are their thoughts? What are their feelings on having their first adventure in Bulgaria?
We have indeed, a lot of beginners in adventuring. They are all sharing the opinion that Bulgaria is, especially in terms of mountain activities, Bulgaria is a great place to start, because it offers serious mountains, but at the same time quite safe. It offers serious hikes, but at the same time not incredibly challenging. Fantastic variety of cuisine, culture, and history, but at the same time not too overwhelming. So I think it's a very, very good place for people to begin. Like if people want to go to the Alps, they have to start in a place like Bulgaria. If people want to know about the European culture, that's a good place to start, and the European history.
Well, thank you so much, Stoyan. Bulgaria comes across as surprising in terms of, the size of the mountains, the variety, and it really seems like a great alternative to have something a little bit different for people who have, always spent their holidays in the Alps. I now understand why it's such an up and coming destination. If people are interested in the trips that Stoyan mentioned, I'll put a link in the show notes, and you can see firsthand what it might look like to have an adventure in Bulgaria this summer or any summer. Thanks a lot, Stoyan.
Thank you very much, Richard and Karen, and I was very happy to meet you this evening.
Nice to meet you too.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the 10 Adventures podcast. If you liked it, why not give us a review? Better yet, subscribe and get inspired again and again. Also, if you want to find your own adventures, why not check out 10adventures.com, where you can use our free resources to plan your own trip or book a tour in over 60 countries and make your own epic memories on your next adventure.